Welcome back to Trucker Talk Radio. You're on Behind the Wheelhouse with J and J. I'm John. This is Justin. Today's guest is one of the most unique stories we've had on the show. Born in Canada, took a trip to Serbia and on day two quit his job and never went back. That's the kind of energy he's been running with ever since. I think he's got about 13,000 followers on LinkedIn. From building dispatch offices overseas to PGT Northside, one of the largest flatbed operations in the country, to launching Carrier Defender, asset based, and Illumino Lens. Did I say that right? Aleks Bates has built a reputation for saying what people in trucking are thinking, but won't say out loud. Aleks, welcome to the show. We appreciate you coming on.
Hey, appreciate it. I like that introduction. I think it suits me pretty well.
Well, thanks. I work hard at those.
Yeah. You do a good job with that. I will give you
Me,
that.
me and Claude, you know.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was supposed to be Illumino Lens, but that was
Aluminum
made
lens.
by
Okay.
by a
Okay.
Serbian friend of mine, so he misspelt it, so it is Lens.
Well, let's start with your story. So you were born in Canada, right? And then you go to Serbia, and then what happened next?
Yeah, so born and raised in Toronto. Took a little vacation with my grandparents out to Serbia. On
Okay.
day two, realized that the quality of life was pretty good out here. And
Really?
the only job I knew how to do was being a plumber. And then I found out the walls are made out of cement, so I realized I had to make a pivot on career paths pretty quickly. I ended up getting into trucking, ended up getting into the carrier side of things, into in-house dispatch for some larger companies. Didn't really enjoy the atmosphere and the office tensions that were going on. So I ended up getting a chance to build my own office for another carrier based out of New Jersey. So I
Uh-huh.
spent a good 4 or 5 years on the carrier side of things, building some offices, doing the outsource thing, all in-house, all proper ways of doing it. And then we got into brokerage, and now we're. I remember my first day actually in carrier sales was Blitz Week 2 years ago. So I went from
Which is
losing
what it
money.
is today. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's my 2 year anniversary of the brokerage side. And I remember losing money on the carrier side for like 3 years. And then my first day in carrier sales and brokerage, I remember losing money again. And I was like, I thought it was supposed to be better this time.
It's always the grass is always greener on the other side. So,
That's it.
but you're in. Let's go back to it for a second. You're in Toronto. You decide you want to go to Serbia. Now, are you a Leafs fan or a Canadians fan? Are you hockey?
Oh
What?
yeah, I was a Maple Leafs fan. I actually have a tattoo when the Raptors won because I knew Toronto probably wouldn't get another victory in any major sporting event for the rest of my life.
It's
So
true, right? They're always in the mix, and then they just fall short.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, they always give us hope, but they never deliver. That's
And
a
that's
story of
right.
my life in
Canadians
Toronto.
are doing well, though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's not talk about that one.
So what is it? What is it about? And I'm a Lightning fan, so I'm not a big. I can't stand the Canadians, and they just whooped us. So what is it about Serbia that's attractive?
I mean, realistically, I think the culture in North America really beats us into just the grind culture and
Hmm.
hustling and nonstop. And you work, like work is your main focus and main priority. I remember coming out here, going outside on like a random Tuesday, and I saw a city filled with people sitting there drinking coffee. And I was like, it's a unique experience coming from North America where all we're doing is working. And it seemed
Hmm.
like these people didn't have jobs. I mean, obviously they did, but they prioritized their free time and hanging out with their family and their friends. And I think it was just a different perspective. And then I got into trucking and I saw the quality of the talent and the English
Hmm.
capabilities out here. And I was like, this is just a really good situation.
I feel like it has changed a little bit, like since COVID. Prior to COVID, all it was work, 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 work. Stay,
Yep.
you're in the office. If you're not in the office after 5:30, you're not working hard enough. And
I
it's
think
just
that hits the nail on the head. Yeah.
it's true.
Yeah.
When
There
I
you go.
started in brokerage at TQL, and I'd go into my managers, and he'd be like, "Did you make 250 phone calls today?" I said, "No, I made 236." He said, "Well, get back out there." He said, "5:30 doesn't mean stop. You keep going." So, but I feel like after COVID, that's kind of changed a little bit. I feel like, there are more people playing pickleball during the day, middle of the day. You know?
I mean, I think they introduced that whole quiet quitting culture where people are coming to work and trying to do less or, just the kind of bare minimums, which that is a shift in the culture in North America that's happened. like you
Yeah.
said, post-COVID, right? Because
Yeah.
before that, that was never even considered. It was like
Nope.
if you're not working, you're not living, right?
But I feel like we're getting more efficient. I feel like we're working differently. I feel like, obviously with AI now, we're able to
Mhm.
complete tasks a lot faster if you know how to prompt the AI correctly, right?
Yeah, I think I read the post yesterday where somebody had said, do you guys feel like you're working less? Because I feel like since the AI has been introduced, we're all working the same hours but getting more done. So nobody's really cut their work days less. We're just
Sure.
More productive.
producing more.
Mhm. I would agree to that. Even to the point, I think it's helped the culture per se of more people working from home. I've had the pleasure of pretty much working from home pretty much my entire life, and you have to be a productive person to want to do that. But I think that's helped the culture a lot. People feel like, hey, if I get this stuff done, I can go run a few errands and then come back to work. So that instead of the boss at the office is not going to let you run a 45-minute errand. But if you know you can get it done, I think that's helped, everybody's mindset as well.
Yeah, I think, being in management positions for quite some time, for me, it's just the results. I don't care if you run your errands or not. As long as you're producing,
Hmm.
that's fine.
That's right.
Well, I want to ask you about your trucking career. So you've dispatched, you've been in, like I said, carrier sales, relations, you're doing recruiting, and now you're doing media and fraud prevention, and so basically the industry has just sucked you more and more into it. What first, before we talk about each segment, what really has kept you in and wanting to keep doing it?
Well, I mean, I had a conversation with somebody fairly recently where they had said, oh, you have 5, almost 6 years experience. We have guys with 10, 15. And I had kind of thought about it. I sat with it, in that weird silence, 10, 15 seconds. And I came back to him with, you can have a 5, 6 year experience guy, you know, apply themselves more and learn more than the guy that's been here 15 years, clocking into his 9 to 5 and going home,
Hmm.
never thinking about a truck ever again in his life. And I think that's just kind of what happened to me with trucking is I spent my first 4 years breathing and living this industry. It just clicked to me, right? It was like a blue collar job within an office, which, I liked from the plumbing background. I was like, man, I get to be in an office, warm, dry, clean, but I still get to talk a certain way. I still don't have to, I'm not working in a bank. So I think the industry
Right.
just kind of did suck me in. And then the social media side of it, I just kind of breathed this industry for the first 4 years until I kind of took my foot slightly off the gas pedal.
Talk about the social media side for a second because you've got 13,000 followers on LinkedIn, and that's not easy. So talk about a little bit about that, about your podcast, your shows that you're doing, your posting. What are you out there trying to promote?
Yeah, I mean, I'll take you through how it started, and I mean the
Yeah,
way that it
yeah.
started was Freight Caviar. I'm sure you guys have
Mhm.
seen the
Hmm.
name around. I actually
Yeah.
have the tattoo right here for them,
So
and
it's a serious part of your
yeah, I
success.
mean, without Freight Caviar, I wouldn't be in social media. To
Yeah.
put it lightly, I mean, it's not that he had anything firsthand to do with it. We actually met, years later, but right when I got in the industry, they told me follow Freight Caviar, and so I did. And all the content was centered, brokerage centric. It was making fun of the carriers and poking fun at the carriers. I was on the carrier side, so I was like, you know what? Like, I've had enough of this. I come to work, I want to laugh at these jokes, but I can't because they're all about me. So
Right.
I was sitting there, I'm like, you know what? Let me start making fun of the brokers. Let me, have some fun with it. So me and a coworker would sit down, every Friday, have a couple of beers after work and make 5 memes about brokers. And we would just post them daily for like, we did that for like 6, 7, 8 months until it started to kind of take off. And then it
Yeah.
just evolved from there. It was like I pushed a little ball down a hill and it just kept collecting. And now we're here. So.
So, what is your core on the freight side? What is your core business? I believe you do mainly flatbed, if I'm correct. Is that the sector that you're in, or are you pretty much in all of it, or?
Yeah, so we're a flatbed, focused brokerage. We're doing, 1, 200 loads a day, something like that. It's up and down, but we're a pretty big operation, mostly flatbed, like 90%. And
Okay.
my role within the company was just, recruiting, building out the ops side, operations and stuff, and a lot of the outsource and the, behind the curtain kind of stuff. So.
For listeners who don't know, PGT Trucking, it's not a small operation.
And
Um,
just to
you,
clarify for anybody that's going to listen to this, we're PGT Northside, we're part of the umbrella, but we're our own, Northside is like the where I'm affiliated with, not
gotcha.
PGT Trucking itself.
But you're part of that, correct? With the 1,000 power units,
Oh yeah, yeah, we're part, we're an
1,500
agency within it.
trailers. 35 terminals. You're part of them. PGT, you operate within that ecosystem,
No,
correct?
no, of course, of course.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
what makes flatbed trucking different than from dry van industry or the reefer side of it? Give some of our listeners who might not be aware of the flatbed. I always said that the flatbed side is more of like an art form. Those drivers, care a lot more than just backing a box into a door.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I mean you've hit the nail on the head, right? I've always said the drivers are, it takes a special type of person to be able to run a flatbed with all the tarping, untarping, and it's
Mhm.
a physically demanding role. And like you said, lives are at stake here. You have to make sure you're executing right every single day, every single load. And it definitely takes a special type of person to run flatbed. So, the seasonality is different. When the summer picks up, building starts again, you start getting a lot more volume. The winter's a little different, hard to untarp and retarp in the winter. So, I mean, flatbed has its nuances. I've always said it's better than reefer. I can't stand reefer freight. I
Yeah, I
mean,
can't
I've
either.
been around a little bit, not for me. So, flatbed's
Do
kind
you
of in the
think?
middle between dry van
So
and
do you
reefer.
do you think these brokers understand? I mean, you've got the TQLs of the world. These guys, you think they're truly starting to understand how dangerous bad load securement is, and actually understanding, when they talk about they've got a load that needs permitted, they don't even know what they're talking about. They don't know the kind of freight that they're actually, not to badmouth TQL. I started there. I was trained by them. I think, they have some good. There's some good things about them, and they've obviously done well for themselves, but how many of those guys are not properly trained on what they're actually trying to book?
Yeah, I had this conversation actually, I think yesterday, where I was talking to a driver, an agent recruiter, and they were saying, a lot of people are trying to get agents. Our agent program fits every book, and we were talking about the nuances of flatbed or heavy haul, for example, and we were saying like, how many people have never even heard of a permit or can tell you what states need or don't need heavy haul permits, et cetera, et cetera, right?
Hmm.
So I think it's kind of scary to me the lack of regulation in this industry when it's like you're dealing with heavy haul, you're dealing with flatbed, open deck freight, and it's like you don't need any certificate. I was a plumber in Canada. I had a, drain layer
Yeah.
certificate, right? Just to put
Yeah.
pipes
Right.
in the ground.
Yep.
And
Yeah. For
I
my
followed.
wife's a real estate agent. For her to walk through a house, she has to take a pretty stout, real estate test and go through continuing education. And,
Hmm.
you
Yeah, I
know,
mean the worst case scenario if I make a mistake in my plumbing job is, somebody's toilet doesn't flush or, the water doesn't want to run. I mean, that's, a recoverable
Yep.
mistake, but the mistakes we see out on the road, that's, costing people's lives. We've seen the news stories, and I think I think the regulation aspect of these things is a little sketchy, if you ask me.
Well, you've got the recruiting background. That's where a lot of my background comes in the industry, and talk to these drivers that I don't think understand for a minute. You recruit for flatbed drivers, and you'll get all these dry van guys call in. Well, I can do flatbed. How much experience you got? Oh, I've done a little bit over here for like a month. Like, man, we got to have experience. We got to know that you can do the securements, that you know what kind of permits or where how to, recheck the load every an hour or so, retighten. You've got to have that 1 or 2 years experience, and all carriers expect it, that to have that to be qualified. Do you see that a lot? Because I've seen that constantly in recruiting with flatbed.
I mean, I don't do typically a lot of driver recruiting in this role, but I have done some driver recruiting back when I was on the carrier side, and we were hiring for flatbed at that time. And I
Mm.
think this has always been like the horror story in my head, right? Where we had sent somebody went to go pick something up, like I think it was supposed to just be a drop and hook, power only type of freight.
Mm.
And we, the guy gets there and he calls. He goes, "Hey, they asked me if I can like secure the load on this flatbed. It was supposed to be pre-secured, but it's not secured." And I asked him, like, have you ever done that? He goes, no, but I can watch a YouTube video. I'm like, all right, we're
oh
leaving
my
that load
God.
there. We're not picking it up. Like, I'm not sending you out on the road with 5 minutes experience strapping stuff. Like,
Yeah. Oh
I
my
mean, I
God.
think there's overconfidence in this industry
Yes.
from certain drivers.
Right.
Yeah, and
Right.
and I actually know firsthand of a experienced flatbed driver that had several years experience who had picked up a load like you're talking about, a power only flatbed load, and while he was securing it, he was a little negligent in what he was doing. He didn't get up there and check the top of the load And when he went to pull down on the straps, I don't know what it remember what it was, fell on him and killed him. So,
Gee.
even the most experienced people can mess up. So I only imagine how bad it would be if somebody has a YouTube video experience.
No, I mean, I have the most respect for drivers. I started my career out on the carrier side. My heart will always be somewhat, on that carrier side. I spent a lot of time with my drivers. I've met them in real life, a handful of them. And I mean, I'll be the first to admit, I don't know how to strap anything. I have no idea how to do a lot of things. I can use a jackhammer and an angle grinder to cut you some pipes. I don't know much else other than that. But I think you need to be honest with these
Mhm.
things when you're out on the road. Like you said, this guy had tons of experience and he still, his life
Yep.
ended short. We're playing with big items where, like, we always say, like, make these jokes, oh, we're kids in a playground with flatbed and all this big equipment and military tanks and all this cool stuff. These
Yeah.
are like big things, big items. These are things that, carry consequences to our actions out there on the road and for other people, the innocent passerbys.
Your name on here says carrier, Aleks Bates carrier defender. I want to know about it. I want to understand carrier defender, which you launched, you're co-founder of, you launched specifically to protect carriers from false reporting and expose bad actors in the industry. So talk a little bit about what you guys do over at Carrier Defender.
Yeah, so I mean, like I've said a few times now, I'm kind of beating the dead horse for this, but I started on the carrier side, now I'm in brokerage, and I was kind of figuring out I was missing that animosity, between the carriers and the brokerage when you got to, I used to be a carrier. I knew my rights. I knew how to
Uh-huh.
speak professionally to brokers, and I wouldn't let them push us around.
Yeah.
And I missed that kind of back and forth once I came into the brokerage side because now I had the power. It was my freight. The carriers were trying whatever they tried. I told them, listen, I've been you literally 10 days ago. Like, you're not going to do this to me. So I just kind of missed the back and forth. And I ended up meeting up with my other co-founder, Dan. He's a lawyer out of Michigan, Mr. Dan Artave. And we kind of got together and said, listen, there's a lot of false reporting, a lot of emotional reporting due to the bad market. And we just started Carrier Defender to help the owner ops, the smaller companies. I mean, we help companies of all sizes, but a lot of carriers don't know their rights or they don't know how to present their arguments correctly, to the brokerages. Then they get themselves in more trouble. And there's a lot of these emotional false reporting going on from brokerages. And I mean, I personally think every brokerage should assign the ability to post stuff, on public forums to a single person or a management position that needs to be reviewed. But neither here nor there. We started just to help these, carriers get themselves out of these situations where, maybe they book a load after 10 minutes, they give it back, they get a report. I don't think that's fair. And, we wanted to be
Yeah,
there for
we've
these
talked
types of
about that a
carriers.
lot. I mean,
Yep.
brokers can basically, kill a broker because or kill a carrier because they've put one sentence on carrier 411 and it just ruins them. And
Yeah, I think people don't
you get
understand
one
the
bad
power.
freight, yeah, you get
Yeah,
one bad
exactly.
freight guard report. It doesn't tell the whole picture. And then what's even worse is that driver, say he decides to leave and go to another carrier, he can run under that broker, no problem. No one knows who that driver is. He'll run on it,
Mm.
but the carrier's left like they're screwed.
Well, I mean, yeah, there's two types of reports. There's false reports that are just fully emotional, like these stupid little things like 5, 10 minutes cancels. All these are
Mhm.
just the basic things in trucking. I mean, those don't
Right.
warrant reports. Then you have actual factual reports where, like you just explained, maybe you have a 90 truck company. You have one bad driver, one bad load, and now you have 89 drivers suffering. That guy's
Mhm.
already been fired. The carrier's taken responsibility. They've tried to remedy things, but that report stands. And I think brokerages don't see, they've never, I mean, most people have never been on the carrier side. They're in brokers or they're in the carrier side. They've never lived with that freight guard report. And they say, oh, it doesn't matter that much. It matters a lot to a lot of people.
Yeah, I think you made just a good point there about how they don't realize how much power they have with that freight guard. And as John said, I think a big thing coming is getting to make the driver be known who that driver is, to be able to put in a report that, hey, Joe Smith working for ABC Trucking was the issue. We do not want that driver on our property anymore. That I have no problem with. If a driver does something bad or shows his rear end, that, hey, let's punish him, but not like you said the other 89 drivers. that are doing a good job and being respectful and getting the job or the load where it needs to be. Based on that, what you were talking about, what do you think of, with all the negativity that the industry's had, say the last 18 months? What do you think about the fraud and how bad it's gotten and how it's affecting, your side of the industry that you're at now?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we haven't been personally affected by any of that type of stuff yet. Knock on wood, right? I mean, it can
Hmm.
happen to anybody. Realistically, the scams are getting really intricate. They're getting really advanced. I mean, dealing with Carrier Defender, we see a lot of cases come over of these, like they have a new scam where they're able to, you click the wrong link in your email, now they take control of your computer remotely. They're booking freight through your IP address, through your online phone, and it's almost untraceable. It's almost the perfect crime. So. I
Wow.
think the scammers are getting really, really advanced as time goes on. And I mean, obviously, the only way that I see it ever stopping, or I mean slowing down, is if shippers start, putting in that extra verification, taking pictures of the VIN, taking picture of the driver's CDL, taking picture off the driver. I mean, an empty truck can't steal your freight. I mean, all fraud starts
Mhm.
at the shipper, if you ask me.
Yeah. Yeah, we talk about it every day. We're associated with Ready App. We're really honing in on driver verification over there. Driver identification, making sure that they're assigned to the correct carrier, making sure that they're verified from the pre-booking process all the way through delivery. And if that driver changes, it can be documented through the load board at Ready App. So as we talk about this driver verification, and it kind of leads me to the breaking news today. The U.S. Supreme Court has ruled 9-0 that freight brokers can be held liable if they negatively hire unsafe trucking companies. What's your thoughts on that? I mean, I think before brokers haven't had the tools to really tell, they vet the carrier, they say, they meet our safety standards, let's go ahead and put them on the load, that not knowing who the driver is. I mean, that's one thing that we've tried to put together a Ready app, is actually start with the driver. If you start first with the driver and you vet them, you check their work history, have they failed drug tests, how many accidents have they had, all this information then goes into a scorecard that we're creating. What kind of impact, is this new ruling going to have on brokerages when they go and decide to put a carrier on their load?
I mean, I've sat with this pretty much the entire day. I've been just generally reflecting on it, with the little downtime we've had here and
Hmm.
there. And I mean, I've thought about it to the point where, I mean, this is only my viewpoint. This doesn't reflect like any of the companies I'm a part of. This is just solely my view on the situation. But
Yeah.
I mean, if you ask me personally, I think the carriers should be responsible for who they hire, right? And the
Mhm.
government should be responsible, FMCSA, DOT should be responsible for making sure that carriers are doing things they're supposed to be doing, but there's a lack of funding, a lack of personnel. I think it was what, one FMCSA personnel per like every 3,000 carriers out. There's something ridiculous like that,
Mhm.
where the enforcement is tough to for them to do, but I mean, I thought about it, right? The supply chain works like this. There's somebody who needs something shipped, then there's a broker who's been cold calling or however they acquired that load, now it's their load, and the carrier needs to haul the freight, right? And I mean, everybody has their role. I mean, obviously, brokerages can't just put anybody on it. There has to be steps that they use to verify. But at the end of the day, I personally feel it's up to the carrier company or up to whoever's in the driver's seat to be qualified to haul freight, right? They have a legal license, they have a CDL in their hands. Why are they not able to haul freight?
Yeah, I think
Mhm.
it comes back to is what we've discussed at here on Trucker Talk Radio and at Ready App, is that the industry is so fragmented. It's so
Mhm.
fragmented. Everybody just likes to stay in their lane and nobody really works together. And everybody's just like, it's not my problem, it's theirs.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
then the driver's like, I followed what my insurance guidelines are, and I could hire this driver, even though he may have been on the line. I'm still allowed to hire him. My insurance company allowed to put me on. So is it the insurance company's fault then for allowing that to happen? I mean, the driver may have lied on his application, and there's so many different factors, and we're all, again, it goes back to, like, nobody works together. There's no centralized platform. Like, if you had a pilot and you didn't vet that pilot. Imagine
That's an
everybody's
extreme
dying.
example, but I
Everybody's
see where you're
dying.
coming from.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You know?
exactly. Well, and I think too, it's time for the driver to take some accountability on this. The good drivers, the good actors, they need to go and set themselves apart from the bad actors, the non-domiciled drivers. And if they're with a carrier that doesn't have a great, safety scores and it's hurting them, they take care of everything they can do, and then when they can move to a better job with the driver passport and have all their documents, so then they can show a broker, hey, this is who I am, this is how I am as a truck driver. And then it helps, in my opinion, it helps the broker because then they see who they're working with, or definitely the person who they are working with, a dispatcher per se, but then working with that truck driver, that's the person representing you basically at your pickup and delivery.
I mean, yeah, I think the point really is that nobody works together in this industry.
Nobody.
Everyone wants to stay in their own lane. Nobody wants to take the accountability, which I do agree with. That is kind of how the industry is. And I've always said, carriers and brokers have much more in common and much more incentive to help each other than they do to be on the
Mhm.
internet all day dogging each other in every forum and every chat room. I mean, without the brokers, a lot of the small operations wouldn't even be able to haul any
They
freight,
wouldn't
right?
be able.
So,
You're right. You're right about that. But I
100%.
mean, why don't we have systems that talk to one another? Why don't we
yeah.
have systems? We're gonna need it. I mean, eventually we're gonna go to autonomous trucks where we're gonna need like an air traffic control on the truck for the truckers where we can see these trucks because fraud is just going to be more rampant with the autonomous trucks. I mean, you're going to have people that hack into these vehicles, and it's going to become a bigger problem. We've got to learn to work together as an industry. I think why don't we have TMS systems that talk to other TMS systems, carrier and brokers alike, and then communicating with the biggest problem it's always been a problem is communication and the lack thereof.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest issue is the privatization of the vetting tools, right? Because if you leave, like, if a company's incentive to open a business is to make money and
Mhm.
they're trying to solve a freight fraud problem, if they solved that problem, they wouldn't have a business anymore, if you ask me. I
Right.
mean, that's a conspiracy theory and a half, but that's the logical way to think about these things, right? If you privatize the safety of lives and make it into a business model, do people care about the safety of the lives anymore? No, they care about the dollar. So I think it
Yeah.
comes down to the privatization of a lot of these factors
That
in
that
logistics.
that question
Good
has
point.
been brought up in our meetings at Ready App where we're like, okay, we really want to talk about a government contract here. We want to talk about working with the DOT. We want to talk about the DOT easily being able to pull up this driver information rather than a driver going filing. Half the reason why a lot of these guys, go into the drivers and kind of like standing up for them. Half the problem they get these violations on the road is because they've left paperwork at their house. They got dirty paperwork in the truck that no one can read. They hand them like a crumpled mess to the DOT officer and they say, go through this. Or they hand them a binder that's got coffee spilled all over it. The DOT officer's frustrated. If there was a unified platform, a centralized platform that just could allow everybody to see the data that's needed to view, it would make things so much simpler, I think.
I've said for a while, this industry may be the worst industry in America on technology. We're still so far behind from compared to any other industry, and it could easily be taught and be used because I mean you can pretty much do anything now if you put your mind to it with the technology, and I think it would help fraud some, but again on matter what we do as an industry, the people that are doing the fraud, they're smart, they're getting smarter every day, they figure out the next, just like it was pointed out a few minutes ago on the latest scam. They figure it out. They're always a step ahead of everybody else. That's just unfortunately the way we live these days.
I mean, somebody said it to me the best a while ago, maybe 1, 2 years ago, where they said, you're trying to run a business, you're trying to drive the truck or book the truck or, something to do with your business. The scammer's business is to scam you, and that's all that they do 24/7. You'll never outwork them because that's the only thing they're doing. You're running a
Mhm.
business and you're spending a portion of your day on fraud prevention and safety and this kind of stuff. They're spending their entire life trying to figure out how to steal your load. Like,
Well, Aleks, we really appreciate you coming on. Why don't you give a plug for yourself? Tell people where they can find you, at Carrier Defender, PGT Northsides, if they're looking for load opportunity.
yeah, I mean, I'll hit up the quick plug. If you guys need flatbed freight, I mean, we're pretty heavy in the north, northeast, and the south. A lot of Texas, a lot of Pennsylvania, a lot of Indiana, a lot of Michigan. So if you need some flatbed freight, hit us up for that. If you get some false or emotional reports, we're always here for you at Carrier Defender. And the other stuff, the media stuff, hopefully you'll just come across it naturally, and I'll give you a few laughs along the way with acid based. And that's about it, guys.
Very good. And where are you calling us from again?
I'm sitting in Serbia, but we'll see how that
So
goes.
where is it in Serbia?
So I've lived in all the major cities, but for now I'm in Kragujevac. So
Okay.
I'll send it to you guys. You can have fun trying to pronounce it on your own.
Kanagwaevac.
Yeah, I won't even try.
What time is it there now?
It's 10:20, so
Okay.
we're 7 hours ahead.
Okay.
I like it. I mean, I work from 2 p.m. to 11 p.m. is my scheduled work time. It's amazing. I go in the morning, I walk through the forest, and I have a cup of coffee, relax, smoke a cigar, and by 2 o'clock, I'm awake, I'm alert. I've already, had my morning, and we're ready to do some stuff. So
yeah, it's a great way to live.
That's pretty.
well, thank you for having me, boys.
Yeah, why don't you close us
out?
out, Justin? Thank our sponsors real quick, and then we'll let them go.
Yeah, no, today's episode is brought to you by Gray Cross. That's graycross.org. Gray Cross is focusing on supporting trucking families and the people who keep America moving every day. When drivers and trucking families face medical emergencies, financial hardship, loss of income, or unexpected life events, Gray Cross works to provide real assistance and support. Take care of the people that take care of America. And of course, we want to thank ReadyApp for what they do for us. ReadyApp is helping monetize the connection between drivers, carriers, and brokers through a verified driver profile and streamline onboarding tools designed specifically for the trucking industry. Drivers can organize their CDL information, work history, endorsements, certificates, onboarding documents, all in one professional digital profile that can be shared directly with companies and recruiters. For carriers and brokers, ReadyApp helps reduce paperwork, improves visibility, speed up onboarding, and create more confidence in hiring process by bringing more structure and verification into trucking.
Thanks, Alek. We really appreciate you coming on.
Hey, thank you guys. Have a good rest of your day.
You too. Thank you.